Okay. In August of 2010, with the raid on Rawson Foods, about approximately 55 days earlier, the State Milk Board comes in on Thursday evening. My wife and I are out at the American Cheese Society Conference in Seattle, Washington. She won a scholarship to it. And so we decided to try to make a little bit of a vacation. We get a call Thursday evening that the State Milk Board came in, that Don Falls, our inspector, who inspected the plant once a year, every year, and said everything was looking good, everything was looking better, everything was on the up and up. We were improving, cleaning, and everything until Thursday. That Thursday of August, I believe, was it the 26th? They came in, put an embargo letter on our door. None of the cheese that they said they found in California at Rawson Foods, which they held for 55 days before they sent anything to the state of Missouri or the FDA, said they found a possibility of contamination in our cheese. It's raw milk cheese. Okay. They came in, put an embargo letter on our door, said you may be able to be back in business in a couple days. Said you probably would be. Don Falls gets a call from somebody, and the next day he has a complete change of attitude. Everything is embargoed, about $250,000 to $275,000 worth of cheese in the cooler. Everything is embargoed. Everything has to sit there, nothing for sale, nothing to do anything with, and we would probably never be able to sell any of it or touch any of it ourselves or even feed it to our animals because it was, quote, potentially contaminated. So I decided to send off some of the cheese to have it sampled. The samples came back with a possibility of Listeria and a possibility of Staph aureus. That was my choice because I want to make sure it is healthy. The possibility, we find out, didn't really mean anything. When you talk to a pathogenic doctor, someone who's qualified in all these areas, they state there needs to be lots more testing to verify what's there. They don't want you to know what's there. They don't want you to know that, as Rawson Foods had in their agreement of what people signed, you need trace elements of these things in order to have a healthy immune system. Anyway, I need to get back to the raid. On Monday, the FDA comes in with 2 agents in camouflage, no guns pulled. They were polite and nice and courteous. They were forthright, though. They stood firm with 1 man in plain uniform. They came in. I had to give them permission to convince with testing and everything. It was already to this point. Had no choice at that point. We did call the Legal Defense Fund, which, believe it or not, we just joined on the 26th when we were out in Seattle, Washington. Okay? So they have been very meaningful to us in everything that has been done. Because we joined once we found out we had a problem, because we didn't know they existed up to that point. And then we found out we had a major problem. On the Monday, my wife and I made a rush trip from Seattle, Washington to Mountain View, Missouri. Drove as hard as we could go throughout as many hours as possible. Got there late Sunday night. Monday morning, we met with the FDA and Milk Board. The FDA started checking over all of our records and everything that we had to make records of everything. And we found out that if you tell them you're going to improve this, that comes up on your recommendation later that you should have already improved it. Okay? Because there's things that you say you're going to improve when you have a plant. You're going to do this, this, and this to make things nicer and better all the time. Well, you don't need to do that with them because they'll cram it back down your throat. Because they took it and everything we said we were going to improve, that's what they wrote up we should improve. That came out even in some of the judges' decisions as far as that goes. Anyway, the FDA got there. The next day they started doing swabs. They did 100 swabs of the cheese plant and dairy, found nothing they could find. We had to dump milk for 5 weeks straight. We could not sell any milk even through the normal sources. We decided to sell some cows off in order to pay the feed bill and continue paying the bills because they locked up everything we had. Everything was locked up. So the people who have donated, we appreciate very much because it has helped us keep alive. I did have to go back on the road to work in order just to keep the family alive and everything. And to this day, that cheese is still sitting there. That cheese is still a thorn in their side because they don't know what to do because, as they've already stated, they don't want to do what they have to do in the light of day. Evil does not like light. It cannot show up in light. It cannot handle light. Not saying everything they do is evil, because it's not necessarily. Some things we need to learn and grow on And if we really had a problem, we wanted to know it. Anyway, to get back to the testing, my son did record everything as they were going through it. Where those recordings on now, we don't know. I think they're somewhere packed away because we had to pack a lot of things away just to survive. With the raid, they finally decided that nothing could be sold out of the cheese storage unit. It wasn't even fit to feed to dogs, to your dog or anything else. These are their words. This is the way they try to treat us, try to treat people. The cheese that's there is aging now. And like I said, we are keeping it there in order for this to continue on with the help of the Farmers to Consumers Legal Defense Fund. We met with Don Falls many times. Our plant manager finally, we did have the samples taken of the cheese. We took them ourselves in court. The state testified that they were there during the sampling process of testing, of taking the samples to send off to the lab. They were not. We find out there's a lot of things they can do, we cannot. The cheese, let's see, we talked to our plant manager, finally come to realize, he finally asked Don Falls, well, Don, if we tested this 40-pound block of cheese up to 40 times, would we, and it came back clean every time, would we be allowed to sell it? They said no. It's all suspect, okay? Think about that. They don't trust their own system. They don't trust their own testing. We asked the lab, when we took the samples, we just had our people come in as you would have somebody at a deli, just cut off samples, cut off 1-pound packages to send off. Okay? They were sent off. Wasn't a proper sampling of anything of our cheese. The state says, we're going to use that test in court against you. We paid for the test. They did no testing whatsoever. And to this day have not and have refused to do so. So are they looking for the truth? I'm looking for the truth. I hope the Legal Defense Fund is looking for the truth. That's what we're here for. We're looking for the truth to try to move forward. Anyway, to get back to the case. To date, the FDA agents stated that one of them stated that she grew up on a farm, but she wanted to know what day we milked our cows on. Okay? These were the people that are setting down these regulations and rules to handle us. Okay? One day the FDA called in. They were there, I think about almost 8 to 10 days, off and on. They called in and said, we cannot make it today because one member is sick. We asked that member. The next day when he came in, I asked him, I said, did you go to a doctor and get a statement from your doctor saying you're not carrying anything pathogenic to a pregnant woman, a child under the age of 2, or an immune deficient person? He said, I do not know how to answer that question. I repeated the question. That's what they're accusing us of. That's what they're accusing anybody producing anything raw of, okay? That's what they're afraid of. I asked the question again. He said, I do not know how to answer that question. I asked the third time a little more forcefully. He said, I do not know how to answer that question. I said, well, what are you doing in my cheese plant? You admitted being sick yesterday, and today you're in my cheese plant without even going to a doctor to get a statement from the doctor saying that your health is clean. Think about it. That is what is coming. That is what is here. That's what we're all fighting against. And my family's immune system and the people we sold cheese to's immune system are healthier. They can live better because of what's there, because they actually have an immune system. Thank you. My time is up.